What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiance Before the 90 Days, Season 6, Episode 2, Say Anything. So let's get started with Gino and Jasmine. So Gino's having his last dinner with his family before he takes off for Panama. And they're talking about Gino helping Jasmine out financially and also the prenup. So they feel like that maybe Jasmine is taking advantage of Gino and that Gino doesn't have the backbone to stand up to Jasmine. And Gino basically does admit that he is scared to say certain things to Jasmine because she completely will blow up. For example, the last time that he brought up the prenuptial agreement to Jasmine, she did blow up and she had absolutely refused to sign the prenup. And so the family tries to encourage him. You need to protect yourself. You need to look out for your best interests, and you need to make sure that you're not being taken advantage of by her. The family asks him if this is really what he wants to do. Do you really want to spend the rest of your life with a woman where y'all are always going to be arguing and bickering, and you always have to walk around eggshells around her? Is this what you really want for yourself? Gino thinks that this is love. I don't know why he thinks that, but he thinks that this is love. And so, yeah, he does want to stay with Jasmine. So then we see Jasmine. She's meeting up with a couple of her friends. And she's just so very overly sexualized. I'm just like, girl, this is what a match this is, because she's just way over the top with her sexuality, whereas Gino is so... his is basically non-existent. The last time that we saw Gino and Jasmine, I forgot what season it was or what the hell was going on, but the last time he had arrived in Panama, they struggled with intimacy. It was very awkward to watch them because it was a scene, I don't know how many seasons ago it was. I'm assuming it was last season. I don't know. It was a scene where he just arrived in Panama and they're in a hotel or something. And as they get started, it's very awkward to watch. It's very cringy and uncomfortable to watch because you see her being, very seductive, and he's being very awkward and very robotic with his movements. It doesn't flow naturally at all. He doesn't act like he has missed her physically in any way. It's just a complete disaster, these two people, when it comes to intimacy. So it's really weird to see how, she can't wait to see him and she can't wait to get physical with him and be intimate with him. And every time they've tried, it's been a complete failure. So the friend says that Jasmine and Gino are not sexually compatible at all. Jasmine brings up the comment that Gino's cousin had left on her social media. And the comment was, "Do you really love Gino?" And she was really upset about that comment. She felt like this particular person had no right to ask her that, because even her own mother doesn't question her love or her loyalty to Gino. So how dare anybody from his family question that? And she doesn't like his family. And I think she doesn't like his family because Gino's in the middle, stuck between his family and Jasmine. He wants Jasmine, but his family is trying to tell him to, think better of it. And I guess Jasmine feels like she's in competition with his family in who can manipulate and brainwash him the quickest and the most. So she doesn't want his family having a big influence on him because they don't want him to be with her. And she's struggling to make sure that he keeps this relationship going for whatever reason, whether it's real love, whether it's just a way for her to come to America, whatever the hell she's trying to do. So he finally arrives in Panama. Gino and Jasmine have become like, I can't take anything that they do seriously. You know how it is with reality TV, right? It's like, when the people start off in a reality TV show, they try to show like a really genuine side of themselves, a very genuine side of their story and their journey. And then when they get a little bit of fame from being on said reality TV show, all of a sudden they're playing up to the camera. Everything is for a scene. Everything is for a reaction from the audience. And that's where I see Gino and Jasmine, because that lipstick that she had on, it was just so over the top. It was overly applied. You know that she did it for one reason and one reason only, was to when they would kiss, she knew it was just, I'm over Gino and Jasmine. She just wanted to create a scene, and the lipstick got all over him. It got messed up on her own face, and then she asks him, "How do I look?" And then lipstick was completely smeared all over her mouth, and he says, "Oh, you look fine." And you know that she's just doing this for the show. She just wants to look clownish for the show. And I'm over Gino and Jasmine. I don't know what their ultimate goal is. I don't know what's really going on with them in real life, if they're still together, if they plan on, I don't know and I really don't care. I'm over Gino and Jasmine. Let's move on to Riley and Violet. So Riley is the one that lives I think he lives in Pennsylvania, and he's the one that doesn't really trust his girlfriend Violet, who lives in Vietnam, because, she had lied about when she had actually gotten a divorce. She had lied about still being on the dating app that they met on. So he's very suspicious of her. So he goes to see his father, and his father is not very supportive of this relationship at all. His father questions, why do you have to look for a woman on the other side of the world when you can get a woman right here? And, he's been unlucky in love in America. He's had a couple of relationships that didn't work out. So now he feels like there's absolutely no female in the country of North America that could possibly be a potential girlfriend for him. So he has to go outside the borders. Okay, fine. You like what you like. That's fine. So the father tells him, which I'm surprised, the way these shows are done, like the father reveals to him, well, your girlfriend's been sending me these text messages, and I've got like over 150 of these messages in my phone that I've never told you. Why wouldn't the father have told him earlier? Why wouldn't the father, after text message number 3, had told his son, your girlfriend keeps texting me these crazy messages, and I don't know what the hell's going on, but you need to talk to her. Why are you waiting until you have 150 of these messages to finally, which makes me think that the son already knew, and this is just a scene, or there's something kind of off with the dad, that he would not have told his son about this beforehand. But anyways, so during the time when Riley and Violet were, I guess, having a fight, they were on the outs, Violet had contacted his father and was trying to make Riley look like the bad guy, trying to convince his dad that, your son is doing me so wrong. He's a horrible guy, and you really missed out on having a really great daughter-in-law. I'm a great catch. I would have been so good for your son, but he messed it up. So she's going on and on and on in these text messages, and the father really isn't responding, but she's going on and on with these text messages about, trying to convince the dad that in this particular situation, she was the one in the right and Riley was the one in the wrong. And so the father gives him the phone, and Riley's reading all of these messages, and he's shocked that Violet would, try to manipulate his father into thinking that he was the bad guy in whatever disagreement or situation that they were having. So he feels even more distrustful of Violet, because he already has trust issues with her, because she's been caught in a couple of lies. And so he's already having trust issues with her. Now he's reading all of these messages of the things that she was saying behind his back. Now he's even more like looking at her with the side eye. So he consulted a private investigator in Vietnam, and he's not sure if he's going to hire him yet. So this was just like a consultation, just to kind of see what the private investigator could do for him if he did decide to hire him. So the private investigator was like, hey, I can do whatever you want me to do. I can find out whatever information you want me to find out. I'll follow her around. I'll look to see where she's working. I'll dig into her social media. Whatever you want, I'm going to find it for you. And so he really wants to know, Riley really wants to know, is if she's really divorced and whether or not she's still on that dating app. And he asked the private eye, when you do, this type of work, like in your cases, like what percentage, or what was the question? How did you phrase it? Something about how often do you see where the woman is lying? And I guess they were talking about when you have an American man who's with a Vietnamese woman, and and the man wants to know if he's being scammed or whatever, if this is a real relationship on her end, or if she's just using him for a visa, using him for money. How often do you find out that the woman is in the wrong or is being distrustful? And the private eye says 80% of the time. The private eye says, I'm used to these kind of cases. This is what I do. I'm used to this. And 80% of the time, the woman is lying to the guy. So my opinion of that is, if you feel like you have to hire a private investigator to follow your significant other around, maybe it's time for you to find another significant other. It's just not worth the time, the stress, or the money. If you feel like you need to do that, just move on to somebody else. Now, let's talk about our boy Tyree. Now, Tyree's the guy who lives in Modesto, California. He's like, I don't know how old, he's like 36 or something, and still hasn't been touched by a woman. And so he falls in love with this girl that he met online, and she lives in the Bahamas, and they've been carrying on this long distance relationship for 4 years. He's never FaceTimed her or talked to her at all. Everything has been through texting, and the only time that he can actually see her live is when he goes to her Snapchat to see her videos. That's the only time that she's actually, you know, moving and talking and breathing that he can actually see. So the producers break the news to him that they did some investigations on their own, and they come to find out that what's her name, Carmela, is not who he thinks she is. Now, Carmela, the pictures that he's been seeing of her, that's a real woman. Okay, that's a real chick. But the person he's been communicating with is a man. So they've been using a picture of this woman portraying to be her and portraying to be Tyree's girlfriend. So they just told him about how, you know, you're being catfished. You're not talking to a woman named Carmela. You're actually talking to a man named Christian. And he's just using this woman's pictures. And the producers have a recording of Christian talking to a producer. And they ask him, do you want to hear the recording? And Tyree actually says no, he can't do it right now. It's like, it's just too much for him. It's just too overwhelming for him. So he actually has to walk away and like splash water on his face because this is just all too much for him. So he says that he had really put his guard down for her, and he just feels, you know, like the one time that he takes a chance on love, because he's always been so super cautious, I guess, with women, the one time that he lets his guard down, this is the news that he gets. That, hey, you haven't even been talking to a female. You've been talking to a whole man. So he says, I've always tried to look out for the signs that I could be catfished, and I've even watched the show Catfish, and he says he didn't see anything. And I'm thinking to myself, for 4 years, you've never talked to her live. You've never FaceTimed her for 4 years. And you're claiming that you were on top of this and you were checking all the signs and you believe that you were not being catfished, but she can't even do a video chat with you. I'm like, come on. So initially, when he and Carmela started talking back in 2019, Carmela did ask him for money, but he had said no. But then like a year later, Carmela asked him for money again. And so he began sending her $50 to $100 per month. And so I feel like it's more than that. When they admit that they are sending money, but they're lowballing it, I'm like, I know damn well you were sending more than $50 to $100 per month. You were doing, no one is going to, especially, there's no way I'm going to believe that he was just sending $50 to $100 per month. He was doing way more than that. So then he's going through his camera roll of all of his pictures of Carmela, and all the pictures are very stagey pictures, you know, like the kind of pictures that a professional model or, you know, an Instagram model would take. They weren't like natural pictures, like, hey, let me snap a picture of, you know, of myself drinking coffee at Starbucks for my boyfriend and send it to him. No, it was all very stagey. It was all, you know, very much Instagram-ish looking. Like anybody could have downloaded these pictures from somebody's social media and sent it to him. And he should have known that. So Tyree says that he is not ready to walk away from Carmela just yet. This is the reason why you're a catfish for 4 years, because you're starting to show signs of being an idiot, because these producers are not telling you this they're not trying to prank you. You know, this is like the real deal Holyfield. They're coming to you with facts. That's why they're coming to you, and they're actually doing this on camera. So what do you mean you're not ready to walk away from your catfish? So then the next day, the producers come over in the morning and they're like, well, can we start filming, or can we start talking about this? And because his mom is at home and his mom doesn't know that he's been carrying on this relationship relationship. But how do you explain a whole entire camera crew in your house? Because he lives with his mom. There's a camera crew in your house, but your mom doesn't know that you've been seeing this chick from the Bahamas for 4 years. So what reason did you give them of having a camera crew in your house? But anyways, he tells them, no, we can't talk in here, but let's go take a walk. So they go and they take a walk. And he still has the belief that Carmela is Carmela. He says he still has something is just telling him that Carmela really is Carmela. So then he meets up with his brother and sister. Now his brother and sister had no idea that he's been carrying on this relationship for 4 years. So he finally breaks it to them that he's been in an international relationship with this chick named Carmela from the Bahamas. And he tells him, hey, remember when I went on that trip a year ago to the Bahamas? I mean, not to the Bahamas, Barbados. To Barbados to go see, take this trip to Barbados. He's like, yeah, I went there to go see her. And his siblings were like, what? But they're used to him being very secretive. They're very used to him keeping to himself and not talking about his business too much. They're used to that, right? So they asked him, so what happened when you got there? And he says when he got to Barbados, the girl never showed up. And for anybody else, that would have been a sign to be like, peace out. You got me this one time, but you're not going to get me again, and just end it right there. But no, not Tyree. So he says he was way too in love to see any of the red flags. Okay. And he tells his siblings that the producers told him that he has been, so this is, okay, check this out, y'all. So he breaks it to his siblings. He's like, you know what? It gets even better. I just got told by the producers that I haven't been talking to a woman named Carmela. I've actually been talking to a guy that I've been catfished. And the siblings were like, oh my God, this is just way too much now. So he tells them they also have a recording of the man that has been portraying himself as Carmela, but I wasn't ready to listen to it. And so they tell him, okay, you should listen to it now. So then the producers bring the phone and they play the recording, and you can definitely hear a man talking. And when he hears the voice, Tyree just gets up and walks away. Okay, so every time they're telling you information about this catfish, he's so shocked. He acts so shocked, but then he comes back with, but yeah, I don't think I'm being catfished. I think this is really Carmela. I think that, there's still something. Look, Tyree, I don't know what's really going on here, but is this an act? Is this are they trying to prank us? Is this an act? Because can't nobody be this dumb. Nobody can be this dumb. They give you all the information. They give you the proof. You hear the recording. You yourself have realized in 4 years, you've never FaceTimed. You've never talked on the phone. But then you're going to have the audacity to say, well, I still kind of believe that there's a real Carmela out. Okay, fine. Let's move on to Amanda and Razvan. So Amanda is the widow with the 2 little kids, and she's, fell in love with a guy named Razvan, who is a social media influencer, I guess, from Romania. So she has finally arrived in Romania. And while she's arrived in Romania, we get a little bit of Razvan. So we get to know him a little bit better. So 24 hours prior to her arriving, we learned that Razvan is an actor, singer, social media influencer. Okay. All of these jobs that, can you show me a W-2, a 1099? Can I see your taxes from what is really going on? All of these jobs with these very questionable income. So we see him thirst trapping in the middle of the square, the city square. I don't know where he's at. There's a big old fountain behind him. He's in the middle of the city or something, and he's out there thirst trapping on his TikTok. He says he has 127,000 followers, and the most that he's made in a month was $2,000 from doing his TikTok lives. He says he's never dated an American woman, and he's never been in a long distance relationship. He meets up with one of his friends by the name of Deanna, and he claims that him and Deanna are just friends, that they worked together on a movie before, and there's nothing going on between them. So we find out through Deanna that Razvan has been married before. He was married about 3 years prior. He met his wife. I don't know exactly where he met her, but after 1 month of meeting, he proposed to her, and they ended up staying married for a whole whopping whopping 6 months. Then they ended up getting a divorce, and he claims that they divorced because she was jealous of his career, I guess, with him interacting with the women and thirst trapping and all of that. His wife had had enough of all of that, and so they ended up divorcing. So the friend questions, how genuine can this relationship with Amanda be if you have only known each other for 4 months? And of course, he explains to her how he feels about her, how she feels about him, and that they both believe that this is a real, genuine relationship. The friend asks, are you ready to be a father? And Razvan says, not so much a father as much as a friend to the children. That's fine. You can be their friend all day and all night, but Amanda's going to expect you to help her financially take care of these kids. So Amanda finally arrives in Romania. When they meet at the airport, it was like a so-so reunion. Usually whenever we have these reunions on 90 Day Fiancé, you know, they're running towards each other. They're dropping luggage and bags as they're running towards one another. They run into each other's arms. You know, he'll usually spin her around. They're hugging and they're kissing. There was some hugging and there was some kissing, but she was so like, I guess she was nervous. But she was very stiff. And like he was trying to be very warm with her, very affectionate with her, and you can see that she was really holding back. And so he just kind of chalked that up to, she just lost her husband, and I'm the first man that she's been with since her husband passed away. So, you know, I got to give her her space and I got to give her time and I have to be patient with her. So he took it all in stride, but she was very standoffish a little bit with him. And like I said, maybe because of the fact that, you know, her husband just died, she hasn't been with any other man for so long. I don't know. I guess that's what it is. I mean, you're acting like that with him, but then it was worth you leaving your children and going halfway across the world to be with him. But then you kind of have this very cold response to him. So, he, you know, like he clearly senses the tension that she has, and you know, he says he's just going to be patient with her. So they arrive at his house, and while they're at his house, her kids call her. So she talks to her daughter for a couple of minutes, and she talks to her son. And the first thing her son asks is, he wanted to know where the bedroom was, and he wanted to see the bedroom. I don't know why this little boy is obsessed about where his mom's going to be sleeping. I don't know what's going on in that household. I don't know what he's seen or what he's heard, but this little boy is very much concerned about where his mom is going to be sleeping. Where is the bedroom? Is Razvan going to be sleeping with you? I mean, he's like overly obsessed about that situation. Amanda says that this trip is as much for her kids as it is for her. Once again, she tries to spin the tale for us by letting us know that she's not doing this just for her. She's also doing this for her children, because her children need a father figure in their life. Okay, that may be true, but why this guy? Why the thirst trapper of all people? Why not the businessman or the CEO, or, you know, the lawyer or the doctor or the engineer or the carpenter or the plumber or the electrician? Someone who has a steady income, who's got benefits, who has a retirement plan, someone who can put your kids on insurance. Like, why not someone like that? If you're so concerned about your children having a father, why not someone like that? Why somebody that you met on TikTok, Amanda? Why are you trying to find a daddy for your kids on TikTok? Anywho, so she says that because she's so concerned about her children having a father figure, this is the reason why she took this trip, and she's going to be away for them for 3 weeks so that she can finally get to know him better. She says she does feel guilty for even being in a relationship with Razvan because, you know, of her husband. Razvan says he's willing to be patient because, you know, he's the first man that she's been with since her husband had passed away. So the first time to take it real slow, and to hear them tell that all they did was just cuddle. Moving on to David and Sheila. So David is our hearing impaired guy who met Sheila, who lives in the Philippines. They met online. And so he's on his way to the Philippines, right? He has a really good friend, Carlos, that dropped him off at the airport. And Carlos told him that, hey, if things don't go well and you have to come back home, just give me a call and I'll come get you. Carlos seemed like a really good friend. I liked Carlos. So David is extremely nervous. Number one, he's hearing impaired. He's going to be traveling. And, you know, that's enough in itself. But then when he gets to the Philippines, even if he runs into someone that does know sign language, they're not going to know American Sign Language. So he's worried about how he's going to be able to communicate with anybody. So he hopes to come back from the Philippines as an engaged man. So then we meet Sheila. She's 31 years old. She's a single mom. She said that she broke up with her son's father because he was too young and couldn't support them. And he was also cheating. She said that when they had their son, or when they met, they were like in their teens, 16, 17 years old or something like that. So he couldn't take care of them and he was cheating. So that relationship didn't work out. She lives with her parents and her 12-year-old son. We see her home. Okay, it's a very tiny, it's basically a shack. She lives in a shack, like in a tin shack. It is extremely small. It is destroyed by fire and by a typhoon. So the house was falling apart. I don't know how it's been able to stand as long as it did after those two disasters. And we also get to meet her parents. And her parents, she's telling them about David and David coming and how excited she is, etc. And her dad was like, is he going to help us fix this house? And David has been sending her money. He's definitely has been sending her money. And so she talks about how she and David met, and they talk about, she also tells us how she became hearing impaired. She said that when she was a child, she was playing with a broom, and I guess the broom handle somehow, she had damaged her ear with the broom handle. I don't know what was going on there, because when I think of a broom handle, I don't see it being small enough to fit inside your ear canal, but somehow or another she damaged her ear with the broom handle and she became partially deaf, and she wears a hearing aid, and she says as she gets older, her hearing is going to decline even more to where she won't be able to hear at all. So they talk about, she does say, okay, I already mentioned that David sends her money monthly. Didn't say exactly how much. However much it was, if David said it, I'm pretty sure he lowballed it. Then she meets up with a couple of her friends, and her friends are like, girl, does he know? Does he really know who you are? Because you're a very jealous woman. So does he have any inclination on how jealous you can get? And she was like, yeah, he knows. He understands how jealous I am, because they have an agreement that they're going to be able to have access to each other's phones because, I guess he knows how jealous she is. I guess he's got a little bit of jealousy in him as well. So they've had this agreement that they can have access to each other's phones at any time. And she's also worried about the communication. She says that, because she doesn't know American Sign Language, he's hearing him. So it's like, how are we going to be able to communicate about our problems and our issues and whatnot? And as far as the physicality of the physical part of the relationship, she ain't worried about that at all, because her friends asked her, has she checked out the goods? And she says she has checked out the goods and the goods are yummy. So she's okay with all of that. She's excited about that. And then she talked about how he had sent her some naughty pictures. And I was like, wow, David. Okay, I didn't know you rolled like that. But anywho, that is my review, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll most definitely talk to you later. Bye.